Hello and welcome to the post-match review of an incredibly frustrating 0-0 draw away in London to Crystal Palace, where we have not got a result. 3 games in a row failed to beat Crystal Palace, 2 losses and a draw. This is a weird game. This is going to divide some people. You're going to have people with this who are going to give me an extremely hard time and claim it's an agenda and all of that for critiquing the manager because we should have scored it in the beginning, but it doesn't matter. This is the reality. United started well. I was quite happy with how we were playing in the first half. For about 40 minutes, I thought it was good. Palace had a couple little looks at the end of the first half. They did have one chance in the first half with Eze that was a really good chance that usually he would score, but we should have probably put a goal or two away as well. The problem with United is that it's been this way for a long time, is that we don't keep doing what works to create chances. You don't score every chance. But when you're doing things that are making chances, you keep that going. And eventually you will, and the numbers will catch up. Things like XG, all of that, they're averages. They are averages. And with averages, you might score on low XG and miss on good XG, and who knows, right? But they are averages. And, as good as the first half was, and I thought it was very good, we created some good chances. With Eriksen in there, with Xerxes in there, we play good football. We move it well. We don't rush. We know when to go fast, when to go slow. We get in behind in good moments, but usually not from long balls. We play short. We move the ball around. There's so many positives. We're able to dominate control. And in the second half, we stop. And Palace made a couple adjustments at halftime that got them a little bit more attack on us. But worse than that, and even more so than that, the subs, it got really bad after the subs. It was poor. It was really, really poor after the substitutions of the players, and it made it way worse for us. Our substitutions, unfortunately, were bad, and we stopped playing football when we made the subs. We stopped playing football, and that's my biggest complaint. Is it all changes, whenever that happens. Yeah, we stopped playing football, and that's my concern in general. You have to be able to keep doing what you were doing that was working, and every change that happened made the game more chaos, made the game more long balls, and didn't make any sense. Pre-match, my concerns were the midfield, and not because of Eriksen, because of his qualities, but the matchup of Eriksen and Bruno. And I thought that was exemplified. I thought Eriksen was really good, and I think Bruno was awful. One of his worst games of the season after many bad games through this year. I think he's been our worst player in the starting 11 so far this season. And it's frustrating. Rashford coming on as a striker was a terrible idea. I don't like him as a striker against Premier League teams. I don't think he does well. But, let's look at kind of the numbers here and where this is at. 0-0, you can see first half dominant, in control. Second half, not so much. They had some good chances. If you go to the stats, you look at it and say, okay, 1.64 to 1.07. Look, one of the things you'll see with different models on XG is that, so you take the shot Garnacho hits off the post that bounces to Bruno. A lot of models will just add both the XGs of those shots, but other models won't, because you can't. It's one event. You can't score twice in that sequence. You can only score once. That's why you'll see different, where you'll see ones that have above 2 and ones that are lower. Here's the issue. In the end, it's only 5-4 big chances. We should have scored, so should they. You look at the first half, this is what's really telling. 1.4 to 0.2, 5 big chances to 1. That was their Eze shot, and ours. Second half, 0 to 3, and 0.87 to 0.24. The second half was bad. I understand we should have put it away in the first half, but it's still a 90-minute game. You don't finish you still have to keep playing. You can't just be good for one half, you know? Look at the difference. First half, I was pointing this out, this thing about making more tackles, right? Being a good thing. It's not. Palace were bad in the first half, 13 tackles to 5. In the second half, we had to make more tackles to win the ball back because we were losing it. Those are measurements that make no sense without context, just that little point. But the first and second half, it wasn't as big a gap, but 0.24 for us, 0.2 in their first half. We made more in the first half, but at the end of the day, it's not good enough. This was not a good game. One good half doesn't make it a good game. It's just not. We are lucky they didn't score their chances, just like they're lucky we didn't score ours. I mean, arguably, the first chance in the first half was as good a chance as we've had, and the double save by Onana, absolutely incredible, kept us in the game because they should have been winning at that point in time. They absolutely should have. So let's talk about some of the players. Xerxes was amazing. Again, when he plays, we play football. And, you know, just what he does, his creativity, his 1-2s, look, 3 possessions lost, 88% passing, doing it for us. He was doing it for us. When he came off and Rashford came on in the central area as a striker, awful. It was terrible. It was a terrible, terrible change. The worst of the game by far. Killed all momentum we had. It was a terrible choice. I'm sorry to say it. It was. You are blind if you did not see that. It was a terrible choice. I'm a huge fan of Rashford, as everybody knows. Terrible choice. He was completely ineffective in the middle, and you knew he would be. That is not his position, and just because it worked against Barnsley doesn't mean it works against Palace in the Premier League. I thought Garnacho was poor. I think that he should have scored his chances. Other than that, he was pretty poor. 1 out of 8 on his duels, missed 2 big chances. He should have scored a goal. And he tends to be better as a starter than as a sub than a starter still. Ahmad, I thought, was good. I thought Ahmad helps us, again, control the game. Not as good as some of his other games, but I thought he helped us, again, control the game, control possession, move it around, make chances, play real football. Bruno was terrible. These ratings are a joke. He was bad. He was awful. Here's the crazy part. In the first half, Bruno only had something like, I'll go back and check the VOD because I looked at the stats at halftime. In the first half, Bruno only had something like 40 touches. Much lower passes. Second half, he has something like 70, 80 touches, and we play worse football. I don't know what to say. 34 times he loses the ball with 72% passing. It's unacceptable. He was doing so many little things bad. All the little things, just constantly making poor passes, poor turnovers, poor things. And the problem is that when you're reliant on a player to come up with something to win you the game, you don't take him off. Bruno needs to not start the next 2 games. He just does. He needs to not start the next 2 games. And we need to do something different. We play better football when the ball is not going through Bruno Fernandes. He's not showing up. He is not showing up. And he's actively, I think, unfortunately, harming the team at this point. The more he interacts, the more the game goes through him, the worse we are. It's more chaos. It's more one and dones. It's less sustaining the attacks, the more involvement Bruno Fernandes has. And that's an issue. Kabi, I thought, was good in possession. Really good moments, helped us sustain. Eriksen, I thought, again, was brilliant. Great passing, creating chances, more safe with the ball. Lissandro had a weird game. I think he was kind of poor. De Ligt was monstrous again. Dalot, I thought, was incredible. He put Garnacho through early. Really great pass. Good defensively. De Ligt as well. I think De Ligt and Dalot were great today. I thought Mazraoui and Lissandro were a bit off of it. Onana, fantastic. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Rasmus, the game state that he comes on, and then it becomes Rasmus, Rashford, Garnacho, when a team's parking the bus, is not it. It's not a successful way of playing. I don't know what to say, honestly. It's like, Yeah, we made some mistakes. You know, we've made some mistakes here. You know, I honestly don't care. You want to give me a hard time about this and say it? It's 0-0 to Palace. They have 2 points. Now 3. It's shit. That was a bad game. We started poorly against Southampton. We scored some goals and we took control. Against Southampton, we gave up a penalty. We played poorly against Palace. You can't give credit for being better in the second half in one game and then say, well, we were bad in the second half of this game. It doesn't matter because we were good in the first half. No, we have not put together 90-minute performances. We have not. Fulham was probably the only one where we put together a 90-minute performance this entire season. And Barnsley. But in the league, 5 games, 1 good 90. 1. That's not acceptable to me. And they were active decisions that made us worse. And it's frustrating. I don't know. The problem I think that I have overall where it gets frustrating, you tell me your opinion on this, and then I'll stop ranting and end the video, is I don't think Ten Hag gets what works. I don't think he sees what was working. The decisions that get made tell me he doesn't, because every sub took us closer to last season's way of playing and further from what we're trying to do. That doesn't make sense. It seems like the decisions to pick the team were made purely based on form and goal scoring and not tactics. Eriksen's been good, so of course he starts. Garnacho scored, he's got to start. Rashford's played a lot of games, he's got to get a rest. But not tactics. They weren't tactical decisions. Because the subs tell you this wasn't his plan. Rashford didn't work against Barnsley because he was at striker. He worked against Barnsley because it's at Barnsley at striker, where you have huge spaces, where they're slower, where they're not physical, where they played a high line and tried to press us. Palace didn't really try to press at all. So you put him on at striker. Why? It didn't work. That's not why it worked. It's like he didn't get why it worked. Bruno was good when he came on against Barnsley, creating chances, but it's again, why? What was working? Eriksen was working against Southampton. I said that. Eriksen was the reason we won against Southampton. There's just something wrong. Not understanding why, when things are going well, I don't think Eric gets why. And he dives into something different or goes too literal with it. And then the changes were just don't help you in that way. You know, Rashford should have come on for a winger and kept Xerxes on and kept it going. Maybe Eriksen had to come off because he was tired, maybe, but Bruno would have been easily the one I would have subbed in this game for Ugarte at halftime if it was up to me, because even in the first half he was poor, even when we were doing well. I don't know. I'm not going to accept one good half and say, well, that was great and it's all on the players for this. No, they should have finished their chances, but we conceded a lot of chances too. And the management in the second half was appalling. They were much better than us in the second half. That's just the reality of it, and we have to face that. They were much better in the second half. Not saying they had control or possession, but you can see without the possession, the adjustments that they made got them in big chances. As the double save from Onana, they had big chances. And look, this isn't okay. 11th in the table now. Against a team with -3 goal differential on 3 points. Liverpool, City, Villa, Chelsea, Arsenal. I don't even think these teams have been particularly good. Newcastle got pummeled today. They still have 10 points. Brighton, Fulham. I mean, this isn't acceptable. People are sitting here, you know, making fun of Postecoglou, and I think they've been pretty poor. They're at +4 on the same points as us. And we have to play them next week. I'm worried about this. I am worried about this. This is not making me feel confident. Following a 7-0 win against Barnsley, you had to do something with it. You had to. Next week, need to drop Bruno and play some football and control the game. Get Ugarte, Kabi, and Eriksen in there, or get Ugarte, Kabi, and Mount in there. I don't care. Let's play football. Let's get Xerxes at the 9 and play real football, control the game, and try to actually play with the ball, and make change. And Eric's got to, Eric has to do something with these final 2 games of the Premier League before the break again. It's kind of a shame that it's only 2, but 2 more. But look at this isn't it. We go from controlling the game to just, I don't know. Actually, look at the 9 when he comes on. Højlund when he comes on, and then the shape goes crazy. That's wild. I don't know. This shape is... That's funny. Anyway, it is what it is. It's frustrating. It's frustrating not to win this game. And I'm not going to... I don't think there's excuses for it. We should have scored, but so should they. It's 90 minutes. You can't say we should have and then the game is great because we didn't. Every team misses chances, and every team who needs to win keeps going after missing those chances. We have to start being that team. So many times I've seen that. We miss chances early and then we fall apart and we change and all that. The solution is not score every chance. You're never going to do that. The solution is you have to be able to maintain control and continue the way you want to play through the entire season, and through the entire 90 minutes. Like I said in the past, you used to see, I said before, when you're chasing a goal, that's when we get bad. Whenever we start chasing a goal, we get awful. In the second half, we were chasing a goal and we go terrible. Why don't we hem in teams like we did in the first half and control the game? Yeah, poor today. That's all I've got. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on Monday.